What if the one thing that stands between you and disaster fails? Imagine this. You're sitting on a plane, a smooth flight is in progress, and suddenly, the thing that ensures you land safely, the landing gear, refuses to deploy. That's exactly what happened to Flight 231. A routine flight turned into an intense, life-threatening experience. How did this happen? And more importantly, how did they survive? It started out like any other flight. The aircraft, a massive airliner, was scheduled to depart from a major airport. Passengers went through the usual motions, checking in, boarding, taking their seats, and settling in for the journey. The crew, seasoned professionals, ran through their pre-flight procedures, confident that the trip would be smooth. The captain and first officer, experienced in flying the route, performed their final checks. The airliner had seen hundreds of hours in the sky, and its maintenance reports showed no issues. For everyone aboard, there was no reason to suspect that this flight would be anything but ordinary. The plane took off without a hitch. Climbing into the blue sky, passengers relaxing in their seats. It was the kind of flight where you could almost forget you were thousands of feet above the earth. But then, just as the plane reached cruising altitude, the first sign of trouble appeared. A small light on the dashboard flickered to life. It was the landing gear warning. At first, the pilots thought it might be a malfunction, something simple, easily fixed. The captain instructed the first officer to check the system, but it was clear. The landing gear wasn't deploying. The indicator light would not turn off, signaling that something was wrong with the gear mechanism. In moments like these, the calm that the crew exhibits can be deceiving. The pilots knew this wasn't a small issue anymore. A failure of the landing gear meant a risky emergency landing. The crew would have to take immediate action, and they had no time to waste. The pilots quickly realized the severity of the situation. With a malfunctioning landing gear, their only option was a belly landing. It was a high-risk maneuver where the plane would land on its underbelly. With no wheels to cushion the blow, the captain informed air traffic control. Emergency crews were dispatched to the runway. The tower instructed the plane to descend gradually while the pilots attempted a manual override. But time was running out. On the ground, emergency response teams were on high alert. They knew the risk. If the belly landing went wrong, it could lead to disaster. Meanwhile, in the cabin, the passengers remained unaware. The flight attendants continued their work, unaware of the potential danger. The pilots had one goal: make sure the passengers and crew survived. They weren't thinking about the plane or the damage it might sustain. They were thinking about how to bring everyone home safely. The plane was coming in hot. Without landing gear, the belly would scrape against the tarmac. The seconds felt like hours. Would the plane stop in time? Would the fire crews be able to respond quickly enough? Then came the moment of truth. The plane's belly hit the runway with a force that reverberated through the cabin. Sparks flew as the plane skidded down the tarmac, friction threatening to ignite a fire. Miraculously, the plane came to a stop. The fire crews were there in seconds, spraying foam on the fuselage. Passengers rushed to the exits, evacuating as quickly as they could. Everyone was shaken but alive. In the aftermath of that harrowing event, one thing became abundantly clear. Aviation is never as simple as it seems. A tiny malfunction in the landing gear system nearly led to catastrophe. And yet, thanks to the training, the skill, and the calmness of the flight crew, a disaster was averted. It wasn't just the technology or the systems that kept the passengers safe. It was the crew's ability to remain level-headed under pressure, to make decisions that ultimately led to a safe outcome. For all the technology that powers modern aviation, it's the human element, the flight crew, that can turn a potential disaster into a survival story. And in this case, it was their professionalism, their training, and their experience that made all the difference. So the next time you board a plane, remember that your safety is more than just the plane's technology. It's the people behind the controls, the ones who are trained to handle anything that goes wrong. And when something does go wrong, they'll be the ones who ensure you make it home safely. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.